the symbol for the company for Portal?
I don't know.
That video game.
Oh.
Aperture Science.
Oh, this? No, this is a program, an entrepreneurship program. I'm a participant. So, yes, it's a really awesome program. It's geared towards college opt-outs. So, yeah.
One of my clients is a college opt-out as of March.
Very cool. Yep, I decided not to go and wanted to start my own business instead. So, yeah, I went from high school to start my own business. So,
What's your business?
I am a communications consulting company, so I work specifically with tech entrepreneurs to help them get past the whole curse of knowledge, and so they are able to speak to investors and people who aren't in their field. So, yeah. Hi, I'm Abby.
Maybe?
Nice to meet you. Yes. Yeah, so I just moved to Austin 2 weeks ago, so
Welcome. Wow, do you have a base of operations yet? Or?
Where I'm living.
Yeah, same.
Yeah,
Same.
Closet? I don't know. Yeah, so we're working on getting our first event on the calendar. So right now we're in the project stage. So I've been talking to a lot of tech entrepreneurs, going to meetups like this, and just kind of trying to define what it is exactly that I want to solve before I come up with a bunch of solutions.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm kind of in the same space, clarifying my niche. I'm a coaching consultant.
Oh, very cool.
Executive life, dating, relationships, and startups. I was involved with the Brain Juice test for 3 years. I'm local, based out of South Austin.
What was your name?
Lewis.
Lewis.
Yeah,
Yes.
my cards. And not my There's going to be a rebranding, so that's not exactly
Mine too. That's my old personal card, but I didn't want to like invest in new cards, and I was just going to make some moves to my company.
business.
No, that's just my personal.
So you're still like figuring out the title?
The business name is called
Oh, I love it already.
Yeah.
Great.
So yeah, and awesome. Our slogan is that communication is the way of
Communication should facilitate. It should be the whole of their dream, like the nature of their dream expressed in multiple ways. Cool. You ever heard of Worldwide?
Sounds familiar, but I don't know if I know exactly what they do.
They're an international professional growth training and development organization. So orientations are relationships, relationship management, communications, and just having relationships work. Which I'm realizing that I articulated this. It's kind of like saying the same thing 3 times. But that's it. That's business, in my opinion. All business, all entrepreneurship. It's just connections that you have, the way you're able to cultivate, husband them, support them, have them support you, like serving them without attachment. I think that's how I've been building my life. There was a day that I bought the LLC, and it was the day that I actually got serious and stopped like trying to work for someone else, trying to go through the usual path of like, this is what you have to do in order to acquire the seed tax. Yes, creative, right? Brand, clients, income comes right by the end of the month. Which is a long step from like my first 4 clients in the past 2 weeks and my first 8 clients first sessions yesterday. So it's a big game.
I started, I've been teaching high school.
Taught high schoolers philosophy.
Really? Very cool. Yeah, so I've done that for 3 years. And then
Sounds like fun too. That was a class that I really missed. I should have been in. Or the team club. I love that political debate with you just for fun. I have no well-grounded opinions except for maybe we should isolate your politics.
Yeah, so I did that forever, and then I've been running like just a debate segment. I started working with them. They were like, really? That's cool. Like, her down the course. Losing energy kind of I stepped in kind of. So what's
It's a contract.
I didn't go to school. I quit all my part-time jobs.
Yep.
Been pouring this, and I've been, my primary source has been up since January. So, it's not a lot, but I'm surviving. Yeah.
Respect.
It's a lot of fun. It's what I'm passionate about.
Yeah, totally. Totally. How I see my job is like supporting a conversation.
Yeah.
So it's all about communication as well.
So how do you fit in like this?
I don't know yet. This is my first time at a meeting like this. Yeah, I was beginning to lean on, instead of the coach side, the startup consultant side of my brain. So developing this see where I fit in. Where are you living at in Austen?
I'm actually, I have a long commute.
Oh, wow. That's exactly what happened to me when I first moved to Austin. The CEO of Brain Juice was like, "This is a good place to live." I feel a spot at my place.
Yeah, so sometimes you need that.
Right. Infrastructure.
So I'm hoping to maybe
our clients are like, there's not anybody. We're deciding
Yeah, same. That's the whole purpose of me starting my coaching business. I can do it from anywhere. I'm so curious, what's the big vision?
So my big vision, there's so many.
Yeah.
I feel
Sounds like you do this every other day.
well, I've done it once.
Oh, okay. And you liked it.
Yeah, so I was like, The alternative to that. Wow, there's a lot of different niches that I would love to play Denmark being one, there's a lot of like business owners, and I'm not sure if you want to diversify beyond just
one of my friends
tech is like the next place that I've seen.
Yes, I have.
This is where I would love to work with you type thing. So it's where I see the most. But anyway, I had one lady
universal application of the field that we provide.
I want to do everything. Tech is where the biggest
Yeah, because you get to be like nerds and geeks and spend many hours on it.
and I'm not that, so I can give them the
The bridge. Oh, nice.
Yeah, I'm
Oh, wow. Nice.
runs my customers are almost here right now. And they're like, so this is July that I decided
Did they like give us capital or something? Oh, okay. Just like you it's the concept that you got.
This idea that you're going to start a company, you guys are going to use that company so much more. Investors always have come over to our office. Whatever you're looking for, whatever tech stack or platform or hardware or software, it's pretty simple now. There's almost you're coming to your office on a day-to-day basis, and you just sit on an icon, they'll probably give you free pizza in a year, and you want to demo your product after the day. Well, you're here at Capital Factory.
One of the cool meetups that I've been to at Capital Factory is the one at Austen meetup, because I was able to network with other entrepreneurs.
Working with other people is obviously where we are 6 months ago, we're going to be there 6 months from now. Meeting relationships. Here's a really good office environment. One of the best resources for your Capital Factory is the office side. The Capital Factory right now is so big, the number of people in almost every industry vertical they're there now, and most of those guys are entrepreneurs themselves. You meet mentors, you meet other entrepreneurs. For us in particular, I met my co-founder here.
I met my co-founder up here.
It's just a real critical mass right now.
Our developers went to one of the development meetups, and we met our newest developer, Kyle, there. We hired him.
The Capital Factory was with us for 2 years, going from that sort of ambition to the actual reality. I've had some successful companies that significantly ways to become like a high-functioning team. Technology is just as much about community as anything else.
You become part of this national family.
You've been to any parties here yet? It's a great way to make connections. Led by you to set up a party.
Hey y'all, good afternoon. Cool. How's everyone doing? Awesome. Feeling a lot of energy here. It's great. So, welcome to Capital Factory. Welcome to Intro to the Austen Startup Scene. My name is JD Weinstein. I work here with Capital Factory with both our fund and our accelerator program. Show of hands, how many people have been here before at Capital Factory? Awesome. So most of you probably. And then how many of you are from Austen? Okay. So welcome everybody else. Typically see I think the number is 165 people move here a day, or we've been the fastest growing city for some time now. Cool. Well, hopefully you guys are all in the right place here. This is we've got a couple of longtime Austen entrepreneurs and folks in the startup scene that I'm going to come up. I'm going to run through kind of a deck and run through the history of the Austen startup ecosystem, what all the resources are here at Capital Factory, here in Austen, around the entire community, how to navigate that entire scene. And then we've got Damon, Clinkscales, and Austen Trimble, who I'll introduce shortly, to come up and ask them a couple questions, and then we'll hop right into Q&A from you all to answer any other questions you guys have. So to kick us off, so first off, at ATX Startup Scene is the Twitter handle, atxstartupscene.com. If you like what you hear today, make sure you check out this website. You can see all the different kind of intro twos that we do. We do a different one every Tuesday at 4:30. How to meet investors in Austen, intro to Austen accelerators. And so always here at 4:30, you can check it out. Although we raise your hand in the back. If you have any questions, well. There's going to be a ton of information. So does anybody here have a smartphone? Yes, you're more than welcome to take those out. You can take pictures the whole time. I'll also be able to share this through the link that you guys registered from if you're interested in getting the deck afterwards. But to keep up, we'll move pretty quickly. Ton of information, ton of resources. Excited to have y'all here. So with that, this is kind of a lot of the things that we will talk about today. What's different about Austen? How did Austen become this booming technology hub? A couple things that are special about our startup scene, why we're a bubble within a bubble, if you will. Knowing what's going on, working at a startup or starting your company, how to navigate everything that we have, finding co-founders, finding investors, accelerators, where should you work, where should you meet people in this world. We'll cover all of that. And then we'll do kind of Ask Me Anything after that. So just to start off, Capital Factory, where you are right now, we are a number of different models meshed together to be to hopefully hone in a lot of the center of gravity around the entrepreneurship and technology world, right, in Austen. And so what we are is we have, we're a large co-working space. We have about 1,000 members that work out of the space here. We have a number of floors here in the Omni building, or the Austen Center. We have an accelerator program that we run. We've got 8 to 10 companies that come in every other month in different cohorts. So we've got about 160 portfolio companies in that. We have a small venture capital fund that invests in those companies and others outside of that. And then we're this huge event center. So we do well over 60 events a month that happen here. And then we also help other community organizers and folks host things here that are programming meetups, their demo days, their investor pitch cycles, their VIP keynotes, their workshops. So you can go on the Capital Factory site, find out a lot of events there. Just here, that's kind of the starting point, but we're going to share everything and branch out into all of Austen. So with that, what's different about Austen? Like I said, 165 people move here a day. I think number now is like 30 people leave. So a lot that's going on, obviously, on the top of every top 10 list. So whether it's food trucks, right, and live music capital of the world, it's kind of obvious. Why did you all move here? And then, of course, the booming tech world. We're also ranked number 1 by the Kauffman Foundation for startup activity, meaning actual activity and things happening with companies, not necessarily venture, but we are getting up there with a lot of venture capital funding as well. And then, with that, I think the only really crappy part about all this is probably the traffic. So sorry for those of you that had to wait in this on the way out. Fortunately, up here, we get to see both highways, so you need to know if you need to work 2 hours later or something. But with Austen, we kind of, this community is seen, it has this bootstrap first mentality. And so meaning, there's a couple different ways, obviously, to start companies, and specifically technology companies, right? You can bootstrap, and then you can raise funding, you can raise venture funding. Bootstrapping meaning that you're using all the resources you have, not taking any outside investors, angel investors and venture capital firms money in to grow your business. And so obviously a lot of entrepreneurs have done this, and they put together their teams, and you make a little bit of money and you invest that back into the business, and you make more and more and grow your money that way. Very solid. A lot of companies here have made it from that, and also a lot of the investors are very rewarding. So if you can create a business from scratch, from nothing, it's certainly kind of top of mind here. The other thing that we have very revenue focused companies, or we'll actually say the word traction focused. So when we're comparing this, we're saying what's special about Austen, really comparing Austen to really both coasts and mainly Silicon Valley, right? So you think about, hey, I want to start this company, there's all these companies that are similar or doing something in this world, so I should have a similar valuation to Silicon Valley. Like, no, not really how it works, right? So Snapchat can have, no money and, hundreds of millions of users, and then, be valued at $10 billion or something crazy like that. Usually that shit doesn't really fly here in Austen, but it could possibly, right? And so we actually now have a lot of strong strong companies in both the B2B space, business space, and consumer companies as well. But demonstrating that you have revenue, or better yet, traction, going to take you a lot farther. Investors are going to pay a lot more attention to you. Major partners and other kind of big Fortune 500 companies that you might want to sell to and want to work with are going to pay closer attention to you. So that's a lot of like what we've seen from the community as we bring in a number of partners and curating companies to pitch to partners and investors for money, to be customers, to potentially acquire them. And so what I mean by traction, not necessarily revenue, is you may have a health IT company and be selling into hospital systems. You don't necessarily need to be making tens of thousands of dollars, but having real solid pilots with top hospital systems is like a really big deal. So that's demonstrating traction. Obviously, you can have fundraising traction. You can have people that are on your application for a certain engagement length. So pay attention to that if you're growing a business. Everyone loves it here. Everyone's friendly. Say hi to everyone, to your neighbor. Yeah, super special place. Obviously, just being in Austin. I think people that are not from Austin, Texas in general, move here and kind of get shocked by how friendly and wonderful it is. And so within Texas, you've got Austin, which is this kind of crazy keep Austin weird mentality. You got a bunch of people with neck beards and shorts and flip-flops walking around in a professional environment, right? And then on top of that, you've got this real community feel where it's almost like when we see, hey, there's somebody that might be a competitor or direct competitor, the first thing that I would ever want to do is introduce you to that company and make that interaction happen here, and have you all figure out, hey, how can we collaborate, or what can we learn from each other. So it's kind of like a bubble within a bubble. It's very much an interesting world that you don't see on both the coasts. And then there's also a ton of impact investing that has started here, has been attracted here. We'll go into a lot of the history of where a lot of these investors came from, but a lot of social capital focused on social good companies, which might mean nonprofits, but also might mean social good companies that also are for-profit, right? So all of that together, of course, we use the metaphor, the rising tide. So everything is coming up, no matter what you're doing in this world, in this scene, you want to be a part of this. And so that's why everybody's moving here, both startups and then obviously the 800-pound gorillas, which I'll refer to shortly, but obviously very, very, very vibrant. So kind of how did Austin become this tech hub? Started with a couple of people I'm going to mention here, and a lot of you may be familiar. This guy, George Kosmetsky, he was the dean of the University of Texas McCombs School of Business for over 15 years. Founded a company called Teledyne, did a lot with bringing a number of companies here in efforts to Austin. Alongside Pike Powers, who is coined the super lawyer turned entrepreneur, Pike Powers, and then Admiral Bobby Inman, who is the director of the NSA, also now a professor at UT and a venture capitalist. George Kosmetsky helped found ATI, Austin Technology Incubator, one of, if not the largest incubator in the entire country, so really attached to the University of Texas with IC Squared. And then together, actually all three of them had a role in bringing the MCC, so the largest computer consortium at that time, to Austin. So a lot of technical talent and things and innovation on the ground back here a couple decades ago. Like this video.
This is the story of the little room over the pizza place at 315 Chestnut Street, the modest first floor bedroom in Tallinn, Estonia, and the dusty basement at 1406 35th Street. It is the story of the old dining room table at 25th and Hoffman Avenue, the southbound bus barreling down I-95, and the second floor above the strip mall at Roble and El Camino.
This magic moment.
It is the story of where every great idea begins.
So different and so new.
Where those with endless vision and an equal amount of audaciousness believed they had the power to do more, time and time again. At Dell, we're honored to be part of some of the world's great stories. Stories that began much the same way ours did, in a little dorm room, number 2713.
This magic moment.
Does everyone have chills yet? Cool. So the largest startup in the world, obviously founded in our backyard here, Dell. And so Dell, we saw a lot of what we now call Dellionaires were created from this company. So a lot of people worked early on at Dell, became Dellionaires, and have helped contributing to building this Austen ecosystem, and so startup ecosystem, if you will. So it's a bit of a virtuous cycle. What happens is a startup like Dell gets really, really large, makes a lot of Dellionaires, becomes public and private, whatever. And so big success stories. Then what happens is people then figure out, okay, I want to do something to help the community. I want to be tapped in. I want to coach other entrepreneurs. I want to be an angel investor. I want to invest in other entrepreneurs. Other people that are kind of off the beaten path that I once was when I joined a startup when I was crazy back in the day. And then hopefully they'll go through that cycle time and time again. So this is a really cool chart of a couple of the first. So Trilogy and Tivoli. Tivoli, founded by Bob Fabio, sold to IBM, I think, for about $500 million. What happened was once those companies get sold or go public, a number of those people have gone out and started companies. When those companies get sold, then those top employees go out and start more companies. So this is a chart. It's a little bit dated. It's the best that we could do to kind of show where a lot of the early Austen companies actually spun out from. Trilogy, the other large software company, being the other. So with that, to put a city on the map as a top tech ecosystem, you've got to have large success stories. And really, just in recent days, we've had a number of IPOs and really large exits. So Indeed being the $1 billion exit, others IPOs. HomeAway, Bazaar Voice, Indeed, Retail Me Not, all fairly recent, and so really showcasing and putting Austen on the map, which has shown all this attraction here. And as you can see, both consumer, these are actually mostly consumer, but has been known for a business ecosystem and a lot of consumer companies doing well. Here's a number of companies that you should keep a close eye on. So a bunch of companies that are really in the, so we've got Austen Trimble from Eagle Eye Networks today. Companies kind of in the maybe 20 to, well, I'll say 50 to 200 person range. 400 person range, WP Engine I see on there, but have seen really high growth over the last couple of years, and so I won't run through all of those, but just kind of a snapshot. And then with that, alongside is the 800-pound gorillas, and so we see, much of you may have seen a recent article that showcased Apple building its largest campus in Austen, actually bigger than Cupertino. By employees. And then we've got Box, we've got Dropbox, Google building a huge development, huge building down on 2nd Street. Oracle just launched a ginormous campus. And so all of these large tech companies are moving in, seeing that the talent is here in Austen. So if anything, you're in the right place, all of you. So a couple special things about Austen too. Number one, South by Southwest, kind of looking at what else makes Austen unique and what happens here on the ground. With that, I'll kind of, the next one. So South by Southwest, many of you are probably familiar, major music, film, and technology or interactive conference has really become this mecca of an international technology conference. I mean, it is on the map. Every major VC from around the world, every top startup is coming to Austen for these 5 days, 10-day festival with everything else. Startup Week and Startup Call is actually right around the corner. So everyone take note of that. Austin Startup Week. Make sure, it might be atxstartupweek.com. Make sure you Google that. I'm not sure the exact URL, but That's going to be in between, it's going to be the first week of October, in between the two Austin City Limits music festivals. Maybe you get to go to both of those and go to Austin Startup Week in between. It's basically like our mini Austin version of South by Southwest. It's not very many. There's still 20 to 25 events a day going on for the entire week, but in all different industries, all different fields, really good place to get tapped in. And then along with that is the Startup Crawl, which is kind of the feature event. So the Startup Crawl is kind of what it sounds like. It's a bar crawl, a bunch of awesome freaking entrepreneurs and companies with really good food, really good booze, and instead of going around to bars, you're going around to all different startups. There's mega stops with, hey, here's all the fintech startups here, here's all the coding academies here. We'll have thousands of people participate. Make sure that's on your radar. We are, Austin's part of the Google for Entrepreneurs Tech Hub network. So there's I think there's 10 or 11 cities that Google identified that they wanted a physical presence in with the community. So they actually identified Austin, and specifically Capital Factory is this. So being part of that network, and then Google Fiber came here really quickly. Hopefully we're gonna have real Uber autonomous cars very soon, but you've probably seen, if you are downtown at all, Google autonomous drive cars riding around. University of Texas. Are there any UT grads in the room? A couple maybe. Hey, go. So yeah, I'm a big Texas guy. So UT, obviously, back in the day, UT was kind of the feature of Austin. It is no longer that way, right? University of Texas is one subset of the Austin ecosystem. But of course, with a campus of well over 50,000 students, told the largest computer science graduating class, that's the past year, but the year before, and so they're always up there. Obviously, lots of talent and everything coming out of that institution, and it being the capital as well. And then University of Texas just participated, and they've got over 50 clubs and organizations and things relating to entrepreneurship and startups and kind of having people build companies within UT. There's a lot more activity and action on that. Capital Factory here, already told you about that. So South by, Austin Startup Week, Startup Crawl, that's what it looked like. Suppose I should have showed you those. It's a little bit on the other side. So, see you guys in 2 weeks. Awesome. I mentioned the Google for Entrepreneurs Tech Hub Network, Fiber, autonomous cars. Are there any, that video, are there any UT students in the room by any chance? Awesome. Have you heard of Longhorn Startup Lab yet? All right, then we're on board. Josh Baer, Executive Director of Capital Factory, and Bob Metcalf, coined inventor of Ethernet, teach a class out of UT called Longhorn Startup. If you're interested maybe in mentoring with that, they do a seminar every Thursday. And then Ben Dyer is the other one, founder of Peachtree Software. So really helping aggregate and put together the entire entrepreneurship world at the University of Texas. Really, Dr. Metcalf has done a stellar job of making it a prime initiative of the university. So, and then Dell Medical School, of course, coming up. We've got they have a huge focus of tech transfer and really spinning companies out of there. So Minnie is the person you want to meet. If you're a health IT company here, 100% you want her on your radar. So knowing what's going on. If there's one website, one thing you take away from here, take a picture of this. The Startup Digest is a curated calendar of all the events in the startup community that go on week after week. So if you subscribe to that, you'll get kind of the month picture of what's happening. Give you guys like 5 more seconds to take a picture of that. Click subscribe, and if you want to submit an event and be part of the community, you can do that there as well. A couple of just Facebook groups for housekeeping that really just to get tapped in that you'll want to join. Austen Startups, one of the largest ones that is just posting, having everything that's going on in this world. Joshua Bear, there's a couple folks that you can follow on Twitter that are constantly tweeting about the Austen startup scene, the ecosystem. Save that comment actually. And then here is a good link that has a lot of these resources and things all in one place. So bit.ly link, plug into ATX Startup Scene. And you'll be able to see all the different Facebook groups, Startup Digest to subscribe, and so on. So real briefly, I'll run through kind of how to land a job at a startup here. We'll touch on co-working spaces, accelerators in the VC world, and then I definitely want to get Damon and Austen up to ask their opinion of some things and have you guys open up for EMEA. But you know, the best thing you can do to land a job at a startup, obviously, everybody is doing a lot of things when you're on the ground, wearing a lot of different hats. And so a personal introduction from somebody that's well trusted in a company, whether it's a colleague, a friend, a customer, an investor, is always the best way to get in front of someone that you might want to take a job with. But there's you might have just moved here and I don't know anybody. How do I meet people then? So, volunteering at a number of tech events, obviously all of Austen Startup Week, you have tons of things going on. You can chat with Paul in the back afterwards if you're interested in doing any of that. You would be, it sounds silly, but you'd be surprised how many jobs are actually created and earned, I don't know, through the Facebook groups. So really just posting a resume and saying, hey, I'm and the more specific, the better. I guarantee you every company is searching for talented individuals, and so just really putting yourself out there in the world, good way to go. We have a number of job fairs. Startup Crawl is like the largest undercover job fair that there ever was. And so all these types of happy hours and things, it's really, oh, that's really interesting that you're working on that. I've worked on something similar, and you have a drink or some really good food. Talk like that. Co-working spaces we'll run through, and then obviously tons and tons of meetups that happen day in, day out. So Capital Factory Jobs Facebook group, Austen Digital Jobs is another good one. If you took down that website, you'll be able to see all of them. You can join this volunteers group, Austen Tech Volunteers. Finding a co-founder, and I know Damon can speak a lot more to that, but there's a number of different things that we host and help put on. They're all around, they're at various places now. But the co-founders meetup, founders dating, we recommended, those are kind of events where you pitch your startup, you say, hey, this is the type of co-founder I'm looking for, whether it's a technical co-founder or a business co-founder. Founder dating, obviously, what it sounds like a big setup, but you're dating for founders, right? There's a lot of relationships or a lot of metaphors to dating and relationships and marrying your co-founder and going through struggles, all that. Hackathons, there's a lot of hackathons that happen. We've got a big one around a blockchain hackathon happening this weekend, where one of my favorites is 3-Day Startup, Startup Weekend, very similar one as well, where you actually have a whole weekend set out where you build a company with a team that you don't know over whatever it is, 72 hours, and then you present your company to a number of judges at the end. So you go through, you wireframe whatever it is, or you go out and you get customer validation, and you don't really sleep a lot. This is an awesome way to meet co-founders, even if it's not on that idea that you're looking to do. you actually get to see how people are performing under pressure, with no sleep. You get to see all the goods, the bad things about folks. So we see a lot of co-founders and a couple companies that are have been pretty successful that have actually come out of those. Kind of leave the other stuff. So a number of hack events. Not all of these are programming based, but the majority are. These are for you. And then meeting investors. Different to similar to landing a job at a startup. Number one way you can get in front of investors is, for us at Capital Factory, if there's a portfolio company we've invested in, an introduction from that company is going to go farther than anything else. But also, loved members in the community, colleagues, etc., anyone from your network. But investors are typically hanging out at co-working spaces or doing a lot of office hours at accelerators. The way that you can kind of create noise from your startup. There's a lot of publications here, whether it's Built in Austen, Austen Inno, Silicon Hills News, all like to talk to startups and promote them. Make sure you're created an angel list profile, going where investors are, like the W Bar or Lola Savannah coffee shop. There's kind of coin specific places where they hang out. But I think we'll get it with that. We'll get more into with the Q&A. So here is a really good just overview of the different accelerators here in Austin. Now, it's very, very difficult to put a bunch of accelerators on the same page, you have to understand, because all of them have very or somewhat similar programs, structures, mentors, money that they're taking or that they're investing, focuses, and so forth. So here's a good kind of indication of the accelerators, different than incubators, which is just a pool of resources. So you've got Athena Health, really focused on health companies, more disruption, please. Most of them are going to fit in this 3-month model where you apply, you get into one of these programs, and you have 3 months where you get a little bit of funding, you get some mentors, you get some space to work in, you rip your business apart, and hopefully at the end of 3 months, you've accelerated and you stand on stage and pitch to the community and investors, and you've come a long way. Obviously, there's a lot more to do with that. But Capital Factory is a little bit different. We've taken away the 3-month model, and so once we have different resources for different companies at various times, at stages in their companies, but focus on all tech companies. International Accelerator, really focused on international founders that are looking to really help out with all the legal stuff and making you have a home base here in the States and then also in Austin. SKU does consumer packaged goods, so a lot of the stuff that you might see on Shark Tank, cereal bars and things like that, Deep Eddy Vodka. Techstars is really the global name. They've got an Austin one here, and all tech companies of all different stages. Another 3-month program, and then Unlimited USA, focus on social good companies, so of course they take none of your company. But no, they're super awesome and have a lot of introductions into that world too. We have the most active angel network in the country by dollars invested in the last year, Central Texas Angel network-wide of over 150 angels. And so they do their own office hours, I believe, down by Abel's on the Lake. Rick Timmons and Claire England are going to be your 2 major contacts there, but I'm sure if you start hanging out on the scene, you'll meet a lot of different investors. With that, cool. We'll browse through venture capital, and then I'll invite our guests up here. So a lot of talk and chatter and things around venture capital. So happy to answer those questions as well. This is there's one other that we forgot to add on here, Notley Ventures, but this is a kind of collaborative list of what we think are kind of the top and only venture capital firms here in Austin. So go ahead and take a look. You've got our company names, where they're focused on. So Series A, Seed, Series A, or Series B. Obviously meaning something different to different companies in different locations. But obviously, Series A here is the $2 to $8 million range. Series B might be a 7 to $15 million, 7 to 50, up to that kind of later stage investment, and seed anything under that. The partners and then what they focus on. So since Austen Ventures has kind of dispersed, there's a number of Next Coast Ventures and Offset. Forgetting there's one more of them. These are all partners that were at Austen Ventures that have spun out their own venture capital firms now, much smaller. There's been a ton of demand in a lot of major VC firms from all around the world making quarterly visits to check in on Austen. Before, it was almost like Austen Ventures had this monopoly. They no longer have that, and so we see at least every quarter, every 6 months, a new firm open up. And then where to work? Facebook groups, ATX Office Space. Here's just a quick map of all the different all the different areas. These little dots are all different startups. Here's a number of much larger companies that are around here. We're right there in the center. And then this, of course, very important too. Places to work, places to hang out. This is a really good collaborative list of different types of companies and what they focus on in areas that they're in. Cool, so to finish off with, Paul Graham, YC, has this city's unique ambitions, where he's kind of put into categories what companies, what people look to, what entrepreneurs aspire to be in those cities, right? And so a lot of these guys you can probably guess, but Boston is be smart. Silicon Valley, are any guesses from the room? That might be. Okay, be powerful, taking over the world. Ubers and the Airbnbs, if you will. NYC, this should be like easy.
Sure.
Okay. Be rich, yeah, good work, yeah. And then Los Angeles, be famous for sure. And then DC, be president. Pretty much, right? Like at least inside the world. And then we've got Bijoy Goswami, who's a longtime Austen entrepreneur and community organizer. Did this for Austen, and it's really be yourself here. So we really come in with kind of that keep Austen weird mentality. A lot of people feel super comfortable, feel like they can build what they want, and we have a strong community to support that. So with that, hopefully y'all are still with me. Thanks for coming through that. I want to introduce and have Austen Trimble and Damon Clinkscales come on up. So Austen Trimble worked with a number of Austen startups here, own local and currently at Eagle Eye Networks. Damon Clinkscales, long-time Austen software developer, community organizer, has organized a lot of the Austen startup ecosystem events and things around this world. So two really great people to have here today. So would love to, with that, I think we'll just jump into questions from you guys because I took a little bit longer. So, does anyone have any questions about everything we just covered, Austen startup scene in general? Yeah.
If you have an idea but you don't have any tech skills, what do you do next? Or how do you start?
How do you start? No tech skills.
Give it to me because I don't have any tech skills. But no,
there we go.
Well, I think you want to try to prove that you have a business by just doing tests, try to see if you have something real by faking it, basically. I wouldn't start building something until you're sure of that. But once you think you have proved something, then obviously you need to go where developers congregate, whether it's around here or a lot of the meetups. Go where the developers are, similar to what he said. Go to where the investors are. You have to, you have to network and go where the developers are. But first, make sure you have something real that you faked, at least, and proved it.
Do you have some examples of some folks in Austen who impressed you by doing that? Some of the Austen startups?
Well, one of the famous stories, I guess, is WP Engine, Jason Cohen. He basically was going around asking people about problems he was noticing with hosting WordPress. And he asked 30, 50 people, these set of questions, the same questions, and they all had to do with kind of the problems he was discovering and hosting. And he tells a story where he says, basically, I got to where I knew the answer that they were going to say before they opened their mouth, because I had heard I had heard it all, and I'd realized that I had really come across something that was real. And that was that sort of mid-level hosting environment where, it's fast, it's secure, you don't have to install WordPress, you don't have to worry when the next zero-day exploit of WordPress comes out, like they're on it, and so just a lot of people didn't want to worry about that stuff, and he found that out by talking to like 50 people and getting these consistent answers from people. That's one example.
I think it's a fantastic one, and the non-tech response to that would be, or just to like add on to it, I think Lean Startup, the book, does a really good job talking about like how to develop product market fit. And so like, just if you were, when you said that, I was thinking, okay, so how do I know if it's real? And then you answered it by saying, talk to 50 people. So like most people, and maybe you don't have this problem because you're not tech, but like if you are an engineer specifically, you may be a little bit more averse to wanting to go talk to 50, 100, or 1,000 people. Like you may want to be more heads down. And so I think like essentially the way to find out if you have something real is to find out if you're really solving a problem. And that story is a fantastic example of that. And then like if you don't have tech skills and you're not going to go down the path of like becoming a developer, then you're probably a sales guy. If you're going to become a founder, because even if you're a technical founder, you're going to be selling at some point. So, I would essentially say, go figure out if it works, figure out if you're solving a problem, and then, like Damon said, get in front of people that, can actually help you build it, and then you're just selling them, hey, this is a great idea, I think this is going to change the market, I talked to 1,000 people, and here's why I think it's going to work. But that sucks. It really sucks trying to chase people down and get them to answer your questions and go through that. But the validation is huge. So.
Really quick, so Dave McClure of 500 Startups has he calls the holy trinity for startups is hacker, hustler, designer. It'll be one of those three. The designer makes sure it looks good and it works well, the hacker makes it work, and then the hustler makes sure it makes shit happen, makes the deals happen, talks to everybody, sells the thing, this guy, gets out there and and make sure it's a real thing, and then the guy can be heads down, the coder can hack it up and make it work, and so anyway, you figure out which one of those you are. That's kind of the early stage, very, very early stages, but that's one thing that he says I think is pretty useful for the super early.
That was hard for me to figure out at the beginning, actually. I remember like talking to Josh Bear and being like, so you know what, I think I'm just going to go ahead and like, I'm going to start learning how to code. That's what I'm going to do. And like, he knew me really well, and he was like, he's like, maybe you should think about just focusing on what you're already really good at. And it was like a nice compliment and also an affirmation for me at the same time. He's like, look, you have all these like operational skills, and you've got a little product marketing skill, and you definitely have sales skills. Like, if you deploy those and you partner with the right people, you're gonna be in great shape. So it was kind of hard for me to figure out. Like, I even saw guys that I was like, man, you'd be a great salesperson. Go become some of the best coders I've ever seen. So I think can be tough, but look at what you're already really good at and what your instincts are, I guess, is my advice on that piece.
Yeah, I'm kind of wondering, one thing my company's struggling with is when to reach out to investors, like how far to get along the road. Like, do you want to make sure you have product market fit right there? Or do you want to make sure you have traction and customers that are using it like repeatedly? When do you guys think you should be reaching out to like investors, even like at the seed stage?
Have you ever heard, you should probably let JD answer this, but have you heard if you need advice, ask for money. If you need money, ask for advice. It's kind of an adage, right?
Very true.
What it means is like, make some relationships even if you're not ready, but because you don't want to just be coming in at the last second and say like, hey, I know we don't know each other, but could you invest $2 million in my company? That's not going to probably work that well, but anyway, I'll let JD really answer the question.
No, that's spot on with that quote anyway. But you should, I'm assuming your company may be making under $1 million a year. Before you have really solid financials and you're going out to raise from real reputable venture capital firms that are professional investors and want to sit down and dial in and go through EBITDA and all their kind of financial metrics, you're really selling angel investors and other folks on the vision, and you want them to come along on the ride. And so angel investors, the difference, this is kind of a larger answer to your question, but you've got angel investors and you've got venture investors. The difference being angel investors, this is not their full-time job. They don't have to do this. This is fun money for them. They could invest in your company or go buy a car or something, right? Venture capital investors, they're managing professional money. This is their full-time job. They have limited partners and shareholders that they have fiduciary responsibility to. So it's a lot different kind of focus when they're coming in. So at the seed and angel rounds, you really have to make somebody fall in love with you and come along for the ride, make them feel valued, like they can help or they believe in you. And so like Damon said, creating relationships and kind of starting off with office hours, with mentors, with the CTAN office hours. The angel investors, the most successful investors that I know, want to meet companies as early as possible and test things out with them and say, great, why don't you try this, this, and this, get back to me with, in 30 to 60 days, did you do it? 95% of the entrepreneurs will never come back to somebody that tells them to do X, Y, and Z, right? And it's typically pretty easy operational stuff. So my advice would be as soon as possible, and then start tracking everything you can and get a list of interested parties. You can send out monthly updates. Anyone you meet that's interested, that wants to help out, you can send out product updates and what I need help with and so on. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that's helpful. Thanks.
General way. Cool. Yeah.
I've got two questions. First, how do you protect or how do you try to protect your intellectual property when you're looking for money? And second, how much equity should you expect to sell of your company at a seed round and a Series A?
All right, cool. So the IP question is something we get quite often, and it's really going to depend on the company. So what you'll hear in most cases, companies are 1% or typically a lot less than 1% idea and 99% or more than that execution. So ideas are really cheap. It's who can go out and actually do it. And so protecting your company, you can do it in a number of ways that you don't actually have to file a patent and go through copyright and all that. If it is a really hard materials or hard tech solution, you want to make sure that you really validate, and before you waste or spend money on a patent to protect that, you've got to make sure there's a market, something that you want to do with it. So, like you said, most of the stuff you can be pretty open with sharing with folks. Most people are not taking your ideas. They're not looking at, okay, what is the next company I'm going to steal from someone and start? There's a zillion things out there. But you can talk to IP attorneys too, right? Like talk to everyone, get the best education you can. The second question was around
the amount of equity you should expect to sell.
Yeah, so totally depends again on the business. It's whatever you can get your investor to agree to, right? But as a very, very general guideline for software and kind of early stage hardware businesses, here in Austin, it's also location centric. The most common standard terms is you're raising money on a convertible note, and you have a $3 million cap, which is basically a protection, or a $3 million valuation for those who are not super familiar in general, with a 20% discount and 8% interest rate. Don't know why, that's just like super standard. Everyone feels comfortable with that. As an entrepreneur, raising a convertible note round basically allows you to punt the valuation of your company to when the professional investors invest. So all that means typically what's going to happen is if you get an investor to invest $3 million, like, hey, I have a $3 million cap, I come in, I give you $100,000. The next investor invests and it's a $3 million valuation, right? Then all I get a 20% discount. So I basically, because I was in earlier, every 4 shares they get, I'm getting 5 shares. So a $3
million cap or a $3 million pre-money valuation?
So it would be, so $3 million cap is almost equivalent to, it's basically the cap of a convertible note is guessing what the best valuation is.
How much new money comes in, it'll be $3 million, that's your cap.
Say that one more time?
The new money cap is $3 million.
Yeah, the money might come, if the money comes in under that, you're protected with a 20% discount. If it goes over that and you have a $3 million, like those investors that were in early are in at a $3 million valuation. So it's kind of just a protection clause. But, you know, 3 million valuation would be, there's a really good blog that I'll refer you to too called Shockwave Innovations. Gordon Doherty is a longtime investor too, really active angel investor and the director of our accelerator here, runs this, and he talks about if anybody else is interested in raising money, the difference between a convertible note to raising a priced round with equity to a safe, and then, you know, venture debt, everything he lays out. So it's called Shockwave Innovations. Oh, this is him right here anyway. Perfect. But what else do we have? Any other questions? Yeah.
Could you guys possibly recommend or point in the direction of finding a good small business account?
Accountant?
Yeah, bookkeeper.
Talk to me later. I'm not that person, but I know that person.
There's a group called Austen Startups that people ask questions like that all the time, and you can actually use search function to find a bunch of recommendations.
This is like on the Facebook groups you're saying?
Yeah, it's a Facebook group called Austen Startups. So you join that, and then if you search, you can.
I have everything but that.
Find a post on just about everything, including accountants and bookkeepers.
So is this slide deck going to be available somewhere?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll send you out. It's on. If you. The simple way is Google SlideShare and then Joshua Bear, and you'll see all of our different decks. But we'll send it out. Else? Yeah.
So I have a question about the accelerator programs, or in general, even not just Cat Factory, but is there kind of a time as you're beginning to develop your idea, you've kind of confirmed it in the market, you're beginning to build it, you're looking at where's that time frame where you really should be considering jumping into the accelerator program?
So Damon is a mentor at Techstars too, so I'll let him start off with that.
Yeah, I mean, they look for a team, you know, so you need to have some people around you. It can't just be you.
Okay.
You know, Techstars they'll do really early ideas or even ideas that are more advanced. You know, it really can vary, but just make sure that you've, like you said, validated some things, and you've got at least you and one other person to go into it.
Yeah, I think
how you guys look at that.
Yeah, number one is team. There's a lot of different things on team. It's not just, okay, are you a good team? Like, it's okay, what is your expertise? Is there industry expertise? Have you built and sold companies before? What are the team dynamics? How do you work together? We try to ask a lot of uncomfortable questions to get you to fight with your co-founder, or like take credit for one another things, right? Like, see if you're coachable and you guys can kind of have been through it with each other. Team is absolutely the number one thing that you bet that any accelerator or investor is betting on, because chances are is you're going to pivot your idea at least once, maybe twice, maybe 5 times, where the only thing that's really staying constant is, we hope, the team. I mean, yeah, plus could be that too. But, for Capital Factory speaking, what we look for really general is you've got a full-time team, you've got some sort of working product or prototype, MVP, beta. You may have up to 10, 20K, $20,000 in monthly recurring revenue. Some sort of traction. What you need help with is scaling your business. But really honing in on, do you have a really sharp team? Do you have sharp traction? Is there a large market opportunity? And the last thing I would say is social proof. So people in the community that are supporting you, who are your investors? Are there mentors that are already championing you? That kind of thing.
I should mention that Techstars applications are open until October or something.
Yes.
So if anyone is interested in that, you should definitely check it out and look at their application.
Yeah, we should have application dates on here. Cool. What else? I know you guys are thinking about, hopefully there's a happy hour that'll start shortly after this too, in 25 minutes or so we'll be able to connect them too.
Maybe just in regards to the accelerators too, because you hear about them and you hear about different people forming ideas and having them launch, forward, everybody's situation, I guess, is different. Like I'm probably not able to quit my job and join an accelerator for 3 months. I'm sure that's a very realistic challenge for other people. I mean, do you think accelerators are kind of a necessary part of starting a business, or are they just like boot camp? Like it's a very good thing to do. What are your opinions about accelerators when they work?
So totally depends on the program, I would say. So the number one thing you want to look for with any accelerator, incubator, pool of resources is going to be the people behind that and how much time and how involved they are. So accelerators, like you said, it's become sort of this fad, and they're like a dime a dozen, like they're freaking everywhere, right? That's not going to last forever. There are, what I would suggest is, you dig into, if that looks like something interesting, and hey, oh my gosh, this accelerator could help out with X, Y, and Z, with getting me customers, with getting me my initial pilots with these, or talent, or whatever it is, like they might be a really good fit, but you just got to do your research. And so look at who is in charge of that, so the manager, director, or the directors, how involved they are, and then their mentor list, and how much time they're putting in, and then talk to companies that are in it. Companies are typically, as busy as they are more than happy to share their experiences and things with other entrepreneurs.
Was she correct in her assumption about basically business hour kind of commitment to the accelerator? Is that?
It's going to depend on the accelerator. Understand it's a very real thing, right? And so it's very admirable when you're working on a side project in a business, moonlighting and going to your day job, right? At some point, I think accelerators or investors are going to want to know, hey, if I give you this certain amount of money, are you able to quit your job and work on this full time? Like this is your vision, this is your big thing. This is not just like a fun thing to do at night. So that I actually suggest that you do that as long as you can, and then you'll know when the right time will come, right? Like when there's enough activity, enough excitement. To kind of jump off.
I mean, I don't know your team size, but Capital Factory and Techstars give over $100,000 to get you started. So they would probably want to see you quit your job and take a shot at it if you're gonna pursue it.
What are some of the selection criteria for being selected? And if you have some idea that you'd like to move forward with, like as we were talking, what do you guys look for to make that decision? I mean, I'm sure it's not as easy as just asking for $100,000. Do you need to provide revenue stream to be able to show you guys that, hey, this product can sell, or this service has a lot of social media backing, or we have this many followers on Twitter, or are those tangible things that you look for?
And are you looking for an accelerator or investment, or to join a company that?
I guess both. Maybe if an accelerator would help in operationally, or if there's funding that's needed, and the accelerator can maybe help with that. I guess both.
There's kind of interesting ways to look at this too. I think I'd ask Austen. I'd be very curious of your opinion of when you're looking at different companies, because you've joined some really high growth companies. What do you look for in a company that you're wanting to join and come run a specific division of that, and then I can dive into the other.
Yeah, I was thinking traction, team, and expertise. So Damon was already talking about team. So it's like they're an accelerator seems like they're investing in the team, because the obvious pivots that can happen. Traction in Austen usually means revenue, but measurable traction that you're solving a problem. So it's probably not Twitter followers, but it could be like you were talking about pilots, or some traction with some larger potential customers. But even just getting someone to even a paid pilot, just to getting people to prepay for stuff, if the problem is that bad that you can get them to give you some money in advance, even to man, if you could build this, I would definitely pay for it. And then expertise is that's like that X factor where like I think of like with Own Local, they're a media company that's trying to kind of do this play for small businesses and like get small business kind of digital ad spend, which is like a really hard kind of thing to figure out. And their founder was in newspapers for like 10 years before that. He was inside of several large media companies, and so he had, and they were a Y Combinator and 500 Startups company, and domain expertise in that area, in addition to having a good team and having some early traction with a couple initial customers. So
yeah, he pretty much hit all the points. I think you're probably not going to have all of those, right? Like, so maximize and magnify what you do have, and show how you're going to get to those other things. It's kind of like, I think the metaphor is like there's like a table with legs, and like as long as you have 3 of the legs, you're definitely good. If you have 4, you're really good. 2, probably not, and 1, you're falling over. And like the legs are, team is the most important one, traction, kind of market opportunity and validation, and then the social proof.
Yeah, you added the one that I left out, which was the market size.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, man, if you got like 4 or 5 people that have this serious problem, but there's only 100 total people that could have that problem, it doesn't work. That doesn't work as well.
Doesn't really work as well.
So yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
So if you're part of a startup and you've got a product and you're selling and you have traction, but you're ready to take it to the next level and you need to really grow your development team, what's the best way to find new talent, and where do you look? How do you identify? You can only hire so many people. You can't afford to hire 10 people and 5 of them go bust. How do you find the right talent to grow a team at a young company?
Yeah, I mean, it's like JD was mentioning before, it's kind of another sales job you have is to convince people to join you. So that means that you've shown that you have expertise, you have traction, you have skills that people want to jump on board with you. So you have to be able to sell that to developers as well as selling investors. But in terms of identifying talent, I mean, you have to build your own network to include developers, developer types, who, like someone like myself, who I organize developers, and I am a developer, so I know lots of developers. So, you could talk to someone like me, and I could give you some, maybe tips or ideas of groups to check out depending on your technology stack, general advice for how to engage those groups, but really you have to broaden your network so that you can plug into those other communities.
Getting tapped into, there's so many programming meetups and so many different things going on, and incredible amount of really talented developers. So
it might be one of the very few downsides of how amazing the scene is in Austin, is that recruiting good talent is tough because there's so many amazing options.
It is tough everywhere, and it's tough here. So that's one thing that often comes up at these things is, how do I find talent, and is Austin any better than anywhere else? It's like, no, it's not any better. It's hard.
Sure. Yeah.
This is more of like a macro question, but I am interested to hear what y'all think about like the Dell EMC merger, and like if that, you were kind of talking about like the Dell effect on Austin. Do you think that's gonna have like even more effects? Kind of like I don't know, are they bringing like tons of more jobs here, and like the effect of like bringing like basically another massive company into Austin? Because I know they're based in the headquarters here, they're moving it out of Boston, but do y'all like anticipate anything from that, or has there been any like thoughts about that?
I haven't heard anything about that. You know more than I do about the fact that it's going to be here.
I will say that they're cutting 3,000 jobs locally, logistics, marketing, and others, but they're mostly MC jobs. But as far as the potential for more jobs, I mean, yeah, that's this. They kind of, you want that quickening, but they are officially cutting 3,000 jobs.
From like the Dell side?
Mostly MC side, but it's those shared jobs that they need just from an infrastructure perspective. So they're not a lot of developers. Sorry.
No,
well, that's great. Thank you. It's going to get worse before it gets better.
Damon for president.
Yeah.
Curious, I guess, Capital Factory and Techstars. Any thoughts, experience with folks who've done successful Kickstarter or Indigo? Is it Indigo?
Indiegogo.
Campaigns. If that's influenced your interest in whatever the projects would be.
Yeah.
One of you had experiences with that?
Totally.
Sure. I mean, it's kind of getting people to prepay, like he was saying earlier. If you can prove that there's a market getting pre-orders, then that's real, you know. So I would say it definitely influences people making decisions about it.
There's a couple companies you can look at. Plum is a really big one. It's a smart light switch. Another one we have is Pop-Up Play, where you can actually design little playscapes as a kid on your smartphone, and then get it printed, shipped like a little cardboard castle that you designed to your doorstep. So that they work really well with very visual or product-based companies, I think, and so definitely another way of proving traction for sure. And you don't have to give up any of your company; you're just getting free money.
Okay. Yeah.
Not exactly, but yeah.
Yeah, it's my first time to be here, so
Welcome.
Yeah, thank you. I'm an exchange student in Macomb, and I'm from China. So I'm quite curious that what's the background about Capital Factory? Because I saw the President Obama visited this place. How did you get him visited this place?
Yeah. I know. There's a reason Obama comes up on the TVs like 53 times when you walk around, so we're hoping you ask them. No, so Capital Factory, like I said, it's been around for about 6 years, but in this current model of everything that we have now, for about the last 3 years. The first 3 were it was a really small traditional accelerator program. And the executive director, Josh Baer, really faced behind all of this. His goal was to create this center of energy for the Austen startup ecosystem. So anything and everything that would happen around that would happen at Capital Factory. So getting the community in, getting investors, getting ambassadors, politicians, entrepreneurs all in one place was really the goal. Obama, I mean, I could tell you stories about when he came. I don't really know why he did. You know, we're obviously Austen is a booming tech world. We're right down the street from the Capitol. There's a lot of focus on innovation, what else they can do. Not only Obama, but not last week, the week before that, we had the Secretary of Defense, Ash Carter, here, and they launched a new Department of Defense initiative, the DIUX. We have a lot of senators and folks visit. You know, the easiest answer I can give you is politicians love taking credit for all the jobs being created. But no, there's a lot more than that. Just being able to partner with them, and a lot of government officials are waking up and seeing everything that's happening in the world, and that we've come into this digital age, and they want to be able to adapt to it a lot quicker, and so this is, you know, one of the major hubs for them.
We touched on it a little bit before when we were talking about if you're not a developer, if you're not something like that, what kind of roles are there that startups might be looking for? Because I feel like a lot of times the only postings they do are for developers, or maybe, let's say they need someone in marketing, but they're very senior. So how do you find out what the roles are that they need filled, or is it kind of you go to them and say, I can do all these different things, how can I get involved?
Both of these guys will have great answers for you. I already know.
So whenever you put the social capital slide up, another kind of take on that slide is the concept that, like, in Austen there's well, everywhere, but like, so there's tons of opportunities to volunteer. So all of these meetups are constantly looking for people to volunteer. And so, like, the short version of my story is, like, that's how I got kind of a job in the tech scene, is I volunteered. I was working for free for Josh on a project for a while, and just kind of made it clear, like, that I was the hustler, which was, like, I was willing to, like, be the guy to get the tacos, and also the guy to get, like, the senior executive to be on time when we were trying to do a video interview with them, you know, and, like, that was, like, a wide range of skills, and I was, you know, kind of honing things, but I basically was just really putting a lot into the social capital side of things to try get involved in the scene. And so obviously you can't volunteer forever, and you have to have a job, but that's a great place to start when you're kind of trying to figure out like what company is it, or is it with an accelerator, or what industry, and what are my skill sets like, would be to volunteer. And then just one more thing, not to go too long on that, would be I think there's a lot of jobs in startups that kind of can put you on a path. So like, to give you an example, like a lot of startups I've been at, people that are in a role like customer support, a lot of times, that can be a pathway into becoming an engineer or a developer. So that's happened a lot. Like a really good support person then like became really good at QA, and then like started doing a little more QA, and so they're talking to the developers all day about the QA work that they're doing, and they become really good at reporting bugs, and then they show this proclivity and they become an engineer, a junior engineer. They start getting educated at night. And so for like the hustler side of things, a lot of times it's like finding a startup that like doing that volunteering and finding a startup that has a need for that hustler skill set, which it could still be support, it could be around ops, it could be around like account management. A lot of that kind of stuff can be a path in. But yeah, the volunteering I think is huge, and then just figuring out like what a path would be, to kind of end up where you want to go.
Yeah, I think it comes down to your network, and who you've met and who you've chatted with about their company and what they're doing. The startup crawl and the startup week that's coming up is a super great example of where you could really put your hustle on. And basically everyone you talk to, kind of talk to them about what they're doing, listen, and hopefully if they're good networkers, they'll ask you what you're about as well. But basically, you're going to meet tons of people during the week, and especially the crawl. And I would just put it out there and say, these are my skills, these are my passions. Well, hey, what are you doing? Hey, that sounds pretty cool, and you just kind of start to build a relationship, maybe swap some cards with people, and kind of, you don't know where that's going to go, but maybe it'll go somewhere good someday.
Ask people what's most challenging in their business right now, and see if you can solve it.
Yeah, same entrepreneur quest, right? Try to solve a problem.
How much value can you bring? Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, the Austen Startup Week and Startup Crawl are really great opportunity to meet people.
Cool. Got about, we'll say 5 more minutes, so a couple more questions if anyone's got any. Yeah.
With the emergence of the microservices architecture and the loss of the necessity to have like a unified monolithic code base, how important do you think it is that you have developers coming in from the same like group of experience, so like having all JavaScript engineers, but now you can have like a Scala guy and a Go guy and a JavaScript guy. Would you encourage the ability to reach out to different developer communities, or would you still encourage the idea of building this kind of community around having this shared, feature set of language?
I mean, for simplicity, you might want to focus on certain languages or a certain language. Just that way you can pick a language that you can easily find developers that work with that language, and have everyone know that code base. But I hear what you're saying, but especially when you're small, you don't want to introduce complexity by having a bunch of different types of languages involved, because then now you've got 3 different kinds of people to find, because unless you cross-train everyone on all the languages, now you're shit out of luck if one of your Go guy walks out the door. Whereas if everyone knew JavaScript or whatever you're using, then you'd be solid to have someone pick it up.
What language would you recommend for a young programmer interested in the startup scene as sort of the top to learn to be versatile?
Yeah, that's a tough question.
That's the question.
But JavaScript is kind of taking over the world on the front end and the back end, and Facebook native, right? React native, So there's a lot of that going on right now. But like he was saying, you can build the server side in a lot of different frameworks that are really good. Python, Ruby, Java, PHP. There's a lot of ways to build the back end, and then JavaScript is the front end that's consuming that back end. But you can also build back ends in JavaScript as well. So if there was one language, probably JavaScript is winning that war. But there are a lot of great languages right now. Technology. He mentioned Go, which a lot of people are loving for really efficient server side stuff. So yeah, it's a great time to be a developer. Very good time.
Would you say there's a proclivity for either VC or venture guys to kind of focus more towards cloud-based architecture? Do you see that is even mattering as far as the startup scene is concerned, or are they kind of more interested in the idea than where you're going to be hosting it and what you're going to be doing with it? Or is cloud-based more kind of a buzzword for?
I'd say if it's a core component of your business, then you want to really focus and hone in on that aspect of the business. If it's not, a lot of the companies, like with the doing, it depends if it's a highly technical company, right? If you just need like someone to build it, and then you need to go execute and market it, and CPC and all of that, doesn't really matter. If you are a cloud storage company or something, then all this really matters.
Right. Okay.
But I don't think there's.
Can you name an Austen startup that does their own hosting?
Yeah, that's kind of my.
I can.
Right.
Just one.
But,
yeah. So.
I want to know what the batting average is for Capital Factory funding, if there is one.
There's all sorts of batting averages.
Yeah.
So with any accelerator or VC fund, there's a lot of different ways to kind of value portfolio and your performance. We're still really, really new, so Capital Factory as a whole, we've invested in about 100 or at least for our accelerator program, it's just over 160 companies. About 20 over 3 years, about 20 of them have died. About just over a dozen have raised a Series A, 5 have exits, and that's all we got. But it seems about right. Like it seems, the real stuff and the real activity, the real success will not come until 6, 7, 8 years down the road. Yeah, exactly. So kind of too early to tell.
It's all about building an ecosystem also.
Sure. Cool. So I'll have time for one more question, and then we'll lead you all over to the happy hour, and I'll hopefully have Damon and Austen hang out for a couple more minutes too. If you have any. Cool. Anyone want the last question?
I take the chance.
Okay, go for it.
Thank you.
A lot of pressure here. Don't let us down.
I just wondering if you invest the companies, startups here direct. You invest with your fund to invest them instead of things.
Say that one more time.
My question is, it sounds like you are doing more like matchmaking.
Matchmaking.
The startups and the investors. So do you invest directly with your own fund to the startups?
Yeah, that's right. So our model is we have an accelerator where if you're accepted into our program, if you get funding from 2 of our partners, our mentors, our fund will actually match their investment. And then additionally, kind of for later stage companies, we directly invest out of our fund. So it's all from angel investors in the community and our fund, but like broader than Capital Factory, Central Texas Angel Network runs their pitch cycles through here. In various other places, Galvanize. There's, Hill Country Angel Network, a number of different other Texas Angel Networks. There's visiting VCs all the time. So a lot of different ways there's crowdfunding syndicates you can launch, Angel Lists, there's Kickstarter campaigns and Indiegogo campaigns. There's a lot of different avenues for funding.
But do you offer consulting, marketing consulting of different kind? Because some startups to the team, the ability is quite limited.
So yeah, that's kind of part of the program. But so again, check out Shockwave Innovations. There's just a lot of really great literature on building a great pitch deck, and like with that, there's a lot of really awesome free advice. It is kind of just the advice I would give you to check out, and I wouldn't pay to there's people that will listen to your ideas and give you really good feedback that you don't have to pay. But eventually it might be what you want to do to hone in on a really solid pitch deck and a pitch story where you want your strategy to be different from your customers and your investors and your VCs. Might be down the road. But you're in McCombs, they've got plenty of resources. Cool. With that, guys, thank you so much for coming. I just want to thank Austen and Damon. out. Areej, will you raise your hand back there? So Areej also works with the Capital Factory Accelerator and Fund. She's a great person to ask a bunch of questions to. I'm going to have and I think Paula might be already over there. So I'll have Areej kind of lead you all to the kitchen if you're interested in hanging out for happy hour. We'd love to see you here. We'll hang out for a couple minutes and then be in happy hour. But again, thanks for coming, and have a great Tuesday.
Awesome.
They go well without going. And I'll send you the landmark event Thursday night.
I would love that. I think that's great. Yeah, my schedule is all like this type of stuff.
Yeah.
I'll just text you the details.
Oh,
thank you so much.
Sorry.
Nice to meet you.
Adding on kind of general. I think you said there's many averages.
A lot of averages. So we do about in a cycle every other month. It can take about 8 to 10 couples. We have any other but it's different in different ways. When I take your LinkedIn, here, no momentum, company, it's only I always similar. Sure.
Yeah, by the way.
Yeah, Damon.
Question.
There's the commercialization piece, right? Your lead gen.
Hey there. I'm JD. Oh, hey.
So I need to like find out.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a little bit more process. Okay, yeah, so I can put like once a month. Yeah.
Okay. Alright. She's been saying like she's starting to get like some tightness in her hamstrings.
Yeah, interesting. Is there any specific types of something? She's like going to all her
workout times. She's starting to get tight shoes or anything.
Or is it kind of any startups?
Well, here when I was young, but then
Okay, got it. Yeah, do you have a equipment that I can take down? I'll do that. And then I can let you know I can close it out.
Hey, what's up? How you doing? My co-founder Chris. Situation.
No worries, no. I'm going to talk to Austen.
Yeah.
So the rollouts are going to power.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah, I'll reach out to them and let you know.
Yeah, I wasn't sure.
Getting more involved, although resources are available.
So I'm not.
So it's been very exciting. Definitely trying to figure out, just like learn the ropes as well.
Cool. Well, welcome to Austen.
I'm not sure this is what to do about it.
Economics,
allows students to find organizations.
Sure. Yeah, no, startups need all the help they can get.
Website,
I'll put it out.
So, trying to
So nice to meet you.
Oh, like an online video meeting.
Yeah, I have a.
that's
I give you my cards are actually just out front, but right here it's just a JG.
They always say they record them. I always wonder
The letter
like,
J, just 2 letters.
You said it's during, like, I think.
Yeah, thanks for coming in. So ask me questions.
What's funny is the camera.
That's the market right now. UTA.
That's one of the white ones. Yeah, that's one of my cameras.
I meant more like people who are
Yeah, so
we actually have a
cool.
this right now.
Yeah, you got it. Howdy.
It is good for you.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for coming in.
No, I know, it's so disappointing. I've heard good things about it.
So something that it should be sent out just in case though, it might be a little older.
So he was, we
You
were
can just Google slide share, Joshua there.
So we're gonna get out
pretty
Yeah.
curious about it.
I was kinda
And
worried about India,
it's
because
gonna
I
be this
heard you
first one that
talking
comes up.
obviously
And it's
about
gonna be a lot of
it.
different.
And-
It should be sent out, but just in case, that's the.
Yeah, coming out with
what I
like
take.
yeah,
I live in Austin.
We're trying to, after working with this board, it's like, code schools are great.
Some of it
there's
was
more
me, yeah.
Don't be too concerned about
It
It's at that
was.
point where
Yeah, I know it's good to have,
on,
I mean,
a lot of different areas, right?
But what I'll say
Like,
is, like, so.
exactly, so you get the people like, all right, we're on your word. So happy to
help push it forward.
So, yeah, that's like one of 6 companies that are still currently. So, when you start.
Yeah, Russ.
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks for coming in.
It's just like going out and doing it for like that.
We like hired a bunch of like kind of senior type people, and I got in there and I was like, man, there's like 6 people here that are like, you know, over 50, with like tons of experience, not doing jack shit. It's like, what the fuck, you know? And so his proclivity is to hire like really experienced people and like get them, you know, oh, they're proven, they're experienced, they're gonna be awesome.
No.
And mine is more like, all right, cool. So like you're a great bartender.
So we're trying to.
How'd you like to be a
It's been
sales
great.
guy?
He's been able to
You know,
like,
and
take a
then
lot
like,
off my plate in terms
just
of
kind of
doing
develop
stuff, and I've been
and
able
mold
to start
people
working on
into.
things.
I think, you know, ultimately we're gonna need
Had on the back burner, we're not getting moved up, but there's still like, if I can get that one guy who can just come in and knows, testing frameworks, and knows best practices,
we're gonna need to hire more seasoned executives that can like lead those teams and do that more complex stuff. I think where we are right now is we just need like, at least in the sales side, I need to like.
We don't have enough money to
I need like,
incentivize
one
the person
top
at
of
the
your
caliber
head
that
and be
we're
like,
looking for.
they're gonna deliver for us. Like, they're gonna go out there and create things and like, and deliver despite the fact that like, oh, what do you mean there's no great marketing collateral? What do you mean you don't have all these case studies yet? What do you mean there's not a million leads waiting in the CIP? It's like, so it's like more than sales even.
Very skilled.
So for me, in terms of how much experience you have,
Structures, right.
That doesn't matter as
Still
much
useful
as
even
like,
if you're,
does your
paying
personal
them very
profile
little,
and where you're trying to
some equity because you've
go
talked
fit in with us
what's
today and in the future.
But
I guess that was
it's
the
the
question.
one.
Why are you
They have to make their money
looking at
every day.
Eagle Eye thinking about a job?
I was, yeah.
Opportunity. So what's your experience?
Right now with a startup, we're in oil and gas, we do drones for Exxon.
Oh, cool.
Like that, so.
That sounds fun.
It's like kind of related, you
Yeah.
know,
Well,
what you guys do. I've been out of Houston living here, so
outside of
I'm
this
wanting to do
context,
something more exciting.
All right.
Yeah. So there's a couple of drilling
Baltimore,
info.
Dallas, Dallas.
There's run type. So my father-in-law is like
Okay.
what do you think about? I've got a little, you know, small amount of understanding of that world. And they're doing some stuff. What are you doing for the start of the drone?
COO, pretty much.
Okay.
Running the company.
Oh, okay. Like how? Where are they in the life cycle? Some kind of revenue.
2 years, we're still bootstrapped.
I don't know about the
so
structure of
that's
Tech
it.
Wildcatters, like how much equity
I'd
they
like to
pay
start
for-
taking on funding earlier than their founders, so
you know,
that's the other reason
but
for
so
there
so
were
you're gonna-
5 companies in the
you're
last
gonna
Tech
lead-
Stars.
you're
Yeah, as much as I
were
can,
capital
yeah, I don't
factory
want to
companies.
transition too
So
quickly.
they had already
and
gone
then learn
through
to it. Yeah,
some
the plan
form
is
of
to
acceleration here.
Okay. Yeah, and then
And
so
then they
before
just
them-
jumped into Techstars and got further.
Flying helicopters
Okay.
for the Navy.
So
Oh,
it's
cool.
certainly not unheard
Nice.
of.
Okay. My good buddy.
I would say if you're feeling like you could really use some acceleration.
So I graduated like 05.
I Texas brings network. They give you some money, right? They also bring their network. It's a global network.
Anyway,
Very
around that
strong,
same time.
that they can bring to the table
His
with the
brother
mentors here in Austin, but also
I don't
reaching
know if
people
it's
in all
Navy.
places around the country,
Last name's
even around the world. I definitely would talk to them. I would definitely, you know, try to meet with the director if you can. He is currently Amos. He's currently talking to people right now. He's flying to LA. For sure, they went down to South America. They're all over the place trying to meet companies. So if you can get a conversation with him, for sure, and look at the application form too, and see what kinds of questions they ask. But you may be familiar because Tech Wildcatters is similar. I don't know, but
most of what I'm going to talk to
it's generally really
or speak
detailed.
to related to Eagle Eye is sales.
But yeah, Amos was great, and I would definitely recommend.
Your experience is
It is.
raise our like
I don't know what you're doing.
I could be a guy.
and we're like, alright, Tech Wildcatters,
Do you live here now?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, you know,
Oh, you
like I
live in
said,
Dallas. Okay.
you could be that
Yeah, so it's like
bartender.
drove.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to live here
So it's like our company is like aimed as fast.
Helicopters and drones.
Try to screen the
Oh, okay.
That's cool.
And all the Fortune 500 companies down.
Just getting out of the military
still
since,
down. But all the talent is like better talent in Austin.
From Texas.
Okay, you got family and stuff?
Yeah,
What should I do with that?
Cool.
Did you live in, you guys live in California at all before here?
Where?
No, Dean was a California.
Yeah. So what's the traction?
No, I'm from here though, like, I'm from California.
So we launched our product about a month ago. Yeah, we targeted initially green cards, new citizenships in the states here. But we're getting a lot more international traffic than we expected.
Yeah, it's like, do I be like, you know, really annoying
You
in
have a
San
product that's
Houston, or
live?
not
Yes.
Houston, or do I be really annoying
So
in
people
say
can use
I'm
it
from a
today
town
to
that's
get
not
their
really a
license
town
faster?
called Woodlands?
Okay.
Kind of like a TurboTax.
Actually, it's like academy guys used to hear like all the academy
So
guys.
right now, we
Usually not
have,
that
like,
bad.
we're still
But
at
they don't want to say if
roughly,
they're
so
cool.
we're at like 50
Most
customers
of the
currently
guys went to
placing, they're
school
going
with
through the
Trimble
process.
Yeah.
They haven't made the, we haven't been able them to convert to revenue yet, but we're.
People that don't live in like central Chicago, not
Some of them, they started like 70% of their applications.
Breezy Brook, like, nobody's ever heard of it.
Customer,
Yeah.
and those customers are like the where's that? And they should have started the green card process. They
Yeah,
should
so
have done
I'm
other
open to
stuff.
like.
And they were like, hey, tell me what to do in kind of situations. So
Yeah.
we're only able to
Right now,
handle
the
that.
number one thing I'm looking for right now.
Wait a little bit.
I don't know.
So what do the
Probably wouldn't-
companies tell
Probably
you?
wouldn't dig it for a variety of
The
reasons.
companies
One of them being
that
the family
have
situation.
this pain of needing to help people
So
get
right-
visas.
I mean,
What do
it's
they
all
say?
like
So
domestic
right
travel.
now, with the B2C, we're
Mostly all.
doing it.
Oh,
Or
okay.
B2B,
No
right
companies.
now, no companies. Companies like Walmart companies in Dallas, they contacted us like for a while.
Regional trade
But like,
shows.
you know, like we have employees from Mexico, from Guatemala.
Lawnmower.
Yeah.
Lawnmower companies.
So not big corporations. You mentioned
Yeah, it's
Dallas
really a
having
marketing
big
function.
corporations.
Right.
But we want to have
That's who you want to go to.
Well, so we have
But
a
you need to
director.
network into those, and it's
She
very
came in after I
difficult to
figured
network
this
into
out.
these
So she's
large
doing
companies.
stuff,
And you're-
and we're working together on stuff, but like, this is the lead gen source of
they
it.
kind of assisting
And it
us.
just happens to be working really well, so I wanna hire someone that can basically like,
Yeah.
their job is
We
to
had
find like
like
100
market
more of this
research,
type of
we have
stuff,
a bunch of
and you go and find
Americans,
them.
like, I wanna have that kind of
You're also the
system
guy
for
who
HR.
plans them,
And
and
figures
figures out
out
where
where
to
to
spend,
we're
goes to
not
them,
yes,
you know,
yeah.
goes back to
Probably
the
a year and a
URLs,
half from
you know,
now.
and like owns that whole
Right,
process.
right.
But like I said,
How many
it
people are in your
ultimately,
team?
like,
Like,
excited
I
more.
can visually see it.
The developers.
2 developers,
But, you know,
myself.
Are y'all's contract vignettes that you have on your website, are those pretty
Are you a
typical
developer?
of
Nope.
the size
I have a
companies
whole
you're looking
JD.
for, kind
So
of
Like
two.
legal.
mid-market type companies?
Okay.
Or
Right
is there a
now,
target?
right now, our ideal customer profile.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, good luck to you.
Sure, thank you.
Multiple geographic
And
locations.
definitely meet with Amos if you
With pain
can.
points around managed at those locations. Because we find that our video is capable of, it helps people manage their business. It ends up being like a ton of.
Do you have a card that I can get?
I don't.
So
I'm on
franchise-
Twitter.
Right.
Yeah.
Damon on Twitter.
Okay.
Or I could send you an
One
email.
guy's supposed to have one account.
Yeah, but you know Weatherford, right?
Yeah.
The one
Good
that's
half.
up, yeah,
Gotta
they're
have
like,
half
we
with
met
it.
them on a show recently, and they have like 1,000 sites.
Otherwise, it leaves the wrong
That could be interesting, just like, we're not even looking at those sales cycles right now, 'cause that's such a huge sales cycle, we need deals that we can close like much quicker. You have
Yeah,
it.
you too.
Are you doing the gig tomorrow, or is it?
Gig tomorrow.
The gig's open call?
Sounds like it, though.
No.
When's the next one?
So it's the start of the week, Thursday. 6th. Atlassian. I'll be there.
Or be square?
Surely I invited you on Facebook. Check your Facebook notifications.
I should check them way
Yeah, but
more
it's gonna be
often
good.
than I
It's
do.
gonna be fun.
Thank you,
So
sir.
come
Sounds
to-
good. Appreciate it.
Come to Atlassian on the 6th. Make sure you register on ATX Starts.
Yes, sir. See you.
I'll send you the link. So you're really
So,
looking at it, really like.
Do you have like my email address or?
LinkedIn.
Communicate.
Want me to reach out on LinkedIn?
Yeah,
Do
that's
that?
fine, and then I'll give you right away, give you my email address, and just like, hey, send me some times that work for me or whatever, and then we can just grab coffee.
To handle the like, oh, this thing not. You need to do
That'd be
this.
awesome. Want me to just get your email real quick if you wouldn't mind?
Yeah, sure, so, let's do the Eagle Eye one, so it's the letter A, and then my last
So
name.
it sounded to me like this would be,
which
you
is
would,
Trimble, so it's TR.
it would sound like you would probably potentially put multiple in your house, depending on, like, if one's on the kitchen counter, it might do something different than, say, one that's on the nightstand, or one that's.
Kind of a really annoying URL.
kind of a thought?
I kind of hate it actually. I want to change this.
So I mean,
That's another story. It's fine. I love the product.
The name of our company is Trimble, and I have to do this spelling with that piece on the phone every single time. It's like, one time I had someone ask about that, and I gave him my last name, which is Ford, and the guy asked me how to spell that, and I laughed. And he's like, no, really, how do you spell that? He's like, what are you talking about? He's like, I don't trust you on that Trumbull thing. Like, that's the last way I would spell that. You tell me how to spell Ford.
I went to high school with Ford. In Woodlands, Duncan Ford. He's at,
I know that's not your preferred outcome.
For a while. Interesting stuff happening in the oil and gas world right now. It just ebbs and flows. It doesn't ever go.
It's true.
I'm John.
John Lewis.
Hey, Kyle. Nice to meet you. Thanks for helping. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Totally open to, you know,
So,
cool.
See what you're doing. Like I said, you know, if it's not us, you know, now, there's definitely lots of other folks that I know, so, whether we come up with that coffee or whether you see someone on LinkedIn and you want to go in that direction, I'm always happy to.
Okay, sure, appreciate it.
Yeah.
I'll hit you up. Is there kind of a time range you're looking at? Next week, a few weeks from now?
I mean, I'm kind of like week to week, so whenever. It could be Friday morning or it could be 2 weeks out. I'm about to go into a whole bunch of travel, but doesn't mean I can't do it. It just means like the days are going to be like I had 1 day this week and then 1 day.
Yeah, and that's where I was.
So yeah,
I'll just hit you
as
up.
soon as you pick, we'll see how good of a sales guy you are. Get the meeting.
Yeah, right. Will do.
But no, I love doing that kind of stuff. So,
his desk. Maybe, you know.
Okay. Appreciate it. Thanks for your time.
Yeah,
Sorry to take up all the questions.
Yeah.
You gonna be in there in the
Hey, yeah, I'm gonna go.
Get your time ready.
Learning. I just want to say thank you.
Oh yeah, awesome. Tell me your name.
My name is Valeria.
Valeria?
Yes.
Nice
to meet you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just got
What are opportunities for lawyers in the tech scene?
I feel like I'm
Well, there's some good tech kind of focused law firms in Austin. So you can talk to those guys, and maybe the angle is, you know, how you help them grow their business. You know, so it's like, hey, like you guys, you know, the way you built your business is you went and got involved in the ecosystem, and now you guys are all married with kids, and you can't get out as much. And like, I'm the younger guy who's going to get out here and hustle for you, or something like that. I don't know. So maybe there's that. But if you're looking to so that's if you're looking to practice law, right? If you're looking to practice law, that's what I would do. I mean, you know, maybe if you're looking to practice law, you can do some other thing where you like start doing office hours for startups to give advice for free, and then one day you build some business where you exchange hours for equity or something like that. I don't know. I mean, you know, there could be some interesting angle with that, or maybe like if you want to be a founder of a company, you like look at a problem that every lawyer has. Like the run title guys are cutting the lawyers out of the title business because they're basically allowing me. Do you know about title at all? Like running titles. So like if you want to go get like access to drill where someone owns mineral rights, in most states that person is not the person who owns the land. So they have to do like all of this historical work through decades and decades and decades of title ownership, right? And then you take that to an attorney who does a title opinion. Now you would think, like, if I've already paid you for the title opinion, and my buddy over there is going to be drilling on this thing 10 years later, I could just be like, hey, here you go. Or I could sell it to him, or whatever. But, like, it's totally not the way the industry works right now. And so run titles basically become the market. And they're saying, hey, like, you know, we've done some verification on this, but, you know, it's already been approved by this guy, and this attorney looked at it. And so that was, you know, probably someone with a legal background said, hey, I don't think we have to get an opinion on every one of these, and let's go build this. So what could you do, what kind of technology company could you build that could eliminate the need for paralegals or something like that? And obviously, you know, I'm not always trying to think of cutting jobs, but or just reduce the amount of time they spend, you know, sitting in a library, or reduce the amount of time you spend looking for precedents or something like that. A search engine for legal precedents, you know, or some shit like that. I don't know. So one angle is like be a lawyer for startups. Another angle is like take the expertise and like think of something you could build. And then I guess the last angle would be like become a hacker, hustler, designer, right? Which probably as a lawyer, it's not designer. It's maybe hacker, and it's probably most likely hustler.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, you know, that's actually something I was thinking about. If I were to become a hacker, what is the easiest way? I'm sure you get a lot, but what's the quickest way to become you know, a developer?
Well, what I would do is I'd go get a job as a support company, as a customer support representative in a tech company, and make it known that you are learning to code on the side. You want to be involved in doing bug tracking and doing QA, and that one day you want to be a developer, that you totally understand and you're committed to being a support person for them, and at least a year you want to do this for them so that they don't get scared off thinking that you're going to run as soon as you get a developer job.
Yeah.
And ask what kind of education programs that they may have, and then go down that path, you know. And then there's a ton of lynda.com and Treehouse, and there's a ton of other, you know, online resources for basically, you know, taking programming classes.
Okay.
General Assembly is a physical location. They have one here in Austen where they teach programming classes. But you know, before I did that, I would probably want to be going to a bunch of programming meetups and like seeing who's at them and what they're working on, what they're building with the skills that they've learned, and also like I said, potentially working at a company or two in like a support role to kind of get a sense of like where you would enjoy building something and what kind of languages those guys are working in, you know, before you go out there and go like, all right, I'm going to go learn Ruby, you know, and you spend a year learning Ruby and start applying for Ruby jobs, and then you get a Ruby job and you fucking hate it.
Yeah.
You know?
That makes sense.
So, are you living in Austin now?
I am, yeah.
And practicing law?
I am, yeah.
At a firm or on your own?
So I have my own firm and I do like project work for different people. So I started doing like corporate law a few months back and working with a little bit with tech startups and things. So, but I'd like to kind of get more involved directly, particularly doing contracts. But also I'm looking at, you know, other avenues. I could be a developer, like you're saying, you know, or starting up my own thing. Like I have a bunch of ideas, but I don't have like the tech background to really, you know, make a go of it yet. So I'm trying to.
Yeah, man, I think if you got your own firm and you're interested in getting involved in the startup scene, the best thing to do would be to go get as many clients as you can in the startup world.
Yeah.
And that could be through like starting out by just going to office hours and giving free advice a whole lot. That's
when you say office hours, what do you mean?
Oh, so most of these incubators have office hours where they want like mentors, advisors, and other professionals to come in and offer an hour of their time for free to let startups get advice.
Okay.
So you could go talk to the people who run this one and Techstars and a bunch of other ones and say, hey, I'm an attorney and I work with some startups already, and I'd be interested in being an advisor or a mentor for your startups. I'd be happy to come sit down and, you know, do an hour give an hour of my time for free to your startups. You know, and whether that's during, you know, your typical office hours, or whether you want to put me in a directory that says, hey, I'm willing to, you know, do 4 hours a month of pro bono or whatever, but like I want to meet more people and I'm willing to give up some free time to meet people. I'm not trying to, actually not so much trying to sell anyone to, you know, come pay me as much as I just kind of want to get involved in the scene.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know? And then you know, that'll give you a really great like high level sense of all these different companies and what they're working on and what it'd be like to be involved with them. And you may be like, no, fuck that, I'm just gonna be their lawyer. Like,
Yeah.
I'm good with that. There's a huge business there, you know.
Sure.
You know, or you might find something you're really into and be like, yeah, let's go. I want to be a support guy. Let's get this started. So
cool.
Yeah, that's what I would do.
Well, thanks.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure. Best of luck to you.
Thanks. Yeah, you too with your company.
Good to meet you. Yeah,
good to
thanks.
meet you.
Thanks. Things are going well. You going over to the?
I sure am.
To the thing.
Yeah.
How long have you been in Austin?
I went to school here and graduated in 05. But I've been